This is James Lupton, delighted to be joined once again with Darren Seeley. Darren, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, James. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Very good. You're the perfect guest to get on for this big fight this weekend. Anthony Joshua against Francis Ngannou. You've sparred both men. You know both men very well. You sparred Ngannou for the Fury fight, and you sparred AJ for this fight, I believe. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Fantastic. First question I want to ask you is regarding Anthony Joshua. You've been in this camp, and AJ with Ben Davison by his side seems to
yeah,
be a rejuvenated fighter. He seems to be, I say, back to his old self. He seemed a little bit shy to pull the trigger, um, almost apprehensive of what may come back at times since he suffered his first loss to Ruiz. But now with Ben Davison, he seems to be more trigger happy in a good sense.
mm.
First of all, what is it AJ like in camp with Ben Davison? What is his general, character and demeanor?
His character and demeanor, he's very relaxed. When the work needs to be done in terms of sparring or bag work or what have you, his S&C, he's fully committed to what he needs to do. I'm sure people have seen or heard Ben mentioning AJ and his work ethic, and for me, seeing him in camp is definitely exactly how he said it is. Very high work ethic, very committed to what he does. I wouldn't say rejuvenated. I would say, if anything, he's just brought out the best of AJ, and he's just making sure that he's doing what he does best, and he's got so many good attributes that it's easy to expose those things and bring those to light.
As a fighter, you'll know yourself, Darren, how important it is to have that relationship between fighter and coach and have that relationship that gels well and, like you say, brings the best out in the fighter. Again, do you see that in the gym? Do you see Ben and Anthony bouncing off each other and building that good relationship?
Yeah, definitely. I think he has a great team around him, and obviously, Ben is a integral part of that. But he's got his own team, and obviously he's got Lee Wiley, he's got Barry Smith there as well. So you can see that they're working diligently to get the victory, and I'm sure they've left no stone unturned. But when it comes to what I've seen from AJ and from the camp as a whole, it's very happy, and happy fight is a dangerous fighter. I think he's in a very good place mentally, which is very important for every person, not just boxers. But yeah, he seems in a very good place.
In terms of the in-ring action and the sparring that you've participated in with Anthony Joshua, how has that been not only for yourself to experience and be on the receiving end as such, but also for him to get those rounds in with yourself as well?
I think it's a, alongside Usyk and being in camp with him, it's definitely been the most eye-opening and definitely the most rewarding to know you can hang with those types of characters, world champions. It's a credit to myself. I'm really happy I can do that, but just earning his respect. He's a very likable, respectful person inside and outside the ring. He's not trying to take your head off, so to speak. He's there to work with you, and you have to put your best foot forward or your best punch forward, so to speak. But yeah, he's definitely someone you can learn a lot from. I learned a lot from him. We were in camp for just under a month, finishing up once we got back from UC camp. But yeah, as I said, I learned loads and loads, and we were there quite a few times, so it was a blessing.
What was that like for you to go straight from the USIC camp straight into the AJ camp? And you mentioned obviously the two sort of highest level camps you've been involved in, very eye-opening and learned a lot. What did you learn from this camp?
Uh, AJ in particular, or both? Sorry.
AJ in particular.
AJ, yeah. I learnt mostly that if you have your fundamentals down pat, that will take you very far. I think AJ's fundamentals are very underrated. They still are underrated, and obviously now we're seeing them, in the best shape that they can be, so to speak. But I think that people haven't really put much respect on his name, which that's their A's and graces. That's up to them. But from what I learned is the fundamentals will take you very far, and the things that he was working on in the ring with me, I felt that they were so down pat and so methodical. He's very much a student of the game. I think Ben, being the analytical brain that he is and breaks things down very, very well, has really helped AJ to flourish in the last couple of fights. So I think there won't be any change this week in terms of his work, his output, and his work ethic. But for me, I learned really that I can, um, you know, spar with the best of them basically, because you get your opportunity. You might get one or two spars at a push, but if you're going three, four, five times, then obviously you're doing something right. So you need to take credit from that and confidence from that.
How tough were the spars? I know you said he weren't trying to take your head off, but how difficult is AJ to deal with in the ring?
Very difficult. Very difficult, I think, and that's just sparring. It's behind closed doors, and what happens in sparring stays in sparring, and this, that, and the third. But I'm always going to say that it's no easy ride at all. Like I said, he's not trying to take the piss, but he would never let someone take the piss out of him either. Not that I was, but there's certain spars or certain stories you hear where people are just not trying to learn. You can learn a lot just from doing one round with him, but when you're doing multiple rounds, he's going to bring you on just as much as you need to bring him on. And there's always multiple sparring partners, so he's getting different looks. He's being pushed in different ways, but the people that Ben or the other coaches surround him with are only going to bring him on. So you need to make sure that you are always fully switched on. Because even if he's pulling his power, or he might not be going 100% in every single punch, but they will take you out even as 50% basically. So, you need to be on your P's and Q's.
A lot of people after I think it was a second Usyk fight, questioned Anthony Joshua's mental state. They felt obviously he had a little bit of a rant after the fight in the ring after the Usyk fight, and they felt the mask slipped a little bit. They felt he was very media trained and sort of they did the right thing for a long time, and they felt the mask was slipping and potentially seeing what they class as the real AJ. In terms of his mentality, is he in a good place, in your opinion, from the time you spent with him?
In my opinion, yes, from the time I spent with him, definitely. I can't sing his praises enough in terms of the amount of respect that he gives to every single person in the room. For me, to put it bluntly, so quite an unknown quantity, but unknown entity. Sorry, but he, knew who I was, call me by my name. Very, very respectful, likable person, and I haven't necessarily got that respect from other people. So just to say that him on the level that he's at, and the sort of the stardom, he's not he knows who he is. And I think, to be honest, I wouldn't say that was him showing the real AJ. That's just a side of somebody that has worked to the bone. He really, really put a lot into that camp. I obviously wasn't a sparring partner then, but he said it himself. I put so much into this, and if you don't get the result that you feel that you should be getting, by all means, you're not going to be happy. And that was his reaction. You can't always be happy and calm and content and smiley faced when you're putting your life on the line here. This is a dangerous sport. And you don't play this sport. This sport, you put your heart and soul and everything on the line. So for me, just being a part of him and around his camp now, it's been very, very cool to be around him as a person, but then as a boxing champion, even better, because it's helped bring me along. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm going to ask you to not necessarily make a comparison because I know you've not spent time with Tyson Fury, but we've seen a Tyson Fury fight against Ngannou, and we've seen AJ's last performance. How do you feel AJ will perform on the night against Ngannou compared to Tyson Fury? What will he do differently? What may he do similar?
Well, people have said that Fury didn't necessarily prepare as he should have with the fight, excuse me, and he didn't give Ngannou the respect that he deserved, and Ngannou really showed out and made sure he did everything he needed to do. For me, that's not the case with AJ. They've got the 10 rounds video footage and all of this stuff, but even without that footage, they would still be treating Ngannou with the utmost respect. So anybody you get in with, you need to know, one punch can change it all, and all of that stuff. But I know, in my heart of hearts, AJ's prepared very, very hard for this fight. It's another champion in their own right. Might be a different discipline, but Ngannou is a successful champion. So by all means take that seriously. And then when it comes to the night, I won't go into the specifics of it, but for me, AJ brings and poses a different threat completely to Fury in terms of being on the front foot, in terms of aggression, in terms of shot selection, and especially his jab as well. I feel they're very much two different styles from AJ to Fury. So as long as he brings that, and maybe a few other things if he needs to tap into that toolbox, then he will do just fine.
Do you think AJ's at a little bit of an advantage now that he can go back and watch tape of Ngannou in a boxing match at the highest level as well against Tyson Fury, whereas Fury potentially got complacent because there was no footage. You could simply have been thinking, well, he's coming to my sport, I'm going to walk through him almost. Whereas AJ can look at that and go, well, you know what? He did perform well, even in defeat, and he did put his name out there in the boxing world.
To some degree, yes. But I don't know. I wouldn't take too much from just having 10 rounds of footage because I don't know. He performed so well on the night, but he performed against a different type of boxer. Performed very well, and AJ and Fury styles are very very different in terms of height, stature, loads of other things. So yeah, Ngannou might have done well against that type of fighter, but when he's coming against somebody else, how might he do? So going off 10 rounds of really good work, you can take some things from it, but you need to look at loads of other things as well. For me, if I'm studying a fighter, it's not just, oh, let's look at their fights. It's, how they carry themselves, how they present themselves when they're in danger, how they take a shot, loads of things. Yeah.
You've also shared camp with Ngannou, as we mentioned at the start of the call. From your experiences with Ngannou, do you think AJ is a tougher fight for Ngannou?
Then Fury.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Is that just down to stylistically?
Stylistically, yes, but I do feel overall AJ is a more polished fighter. And if people want to drag me for that, then so be it. But that's just my opinion from what I've seen and shared in the ring with both fighters. So yeah, I feel that AJ brings a little bit more, just a little bit more in his arsenal, basically. Yeah. So I do feel it's a tougher fight for Ngannou. I do feel that they match up a little bit more similarly in certain ways from the power aspect and the stature and the build but the dexterity and the angles and the footwork that AJ has, I feel that Ngannou doesn't necessarily possess as much as AJ. So it'll be tougher for him.
Let's talk about the positives for Ngannou and what Ngannou does bring into a boxing match. From your times that you shared with him in camp, what does he do well?
He's very good at closing the distance, and he's such a wide, strong man that you would expect him to be quite square, but he's very good at just holding his stance and keeping his guard up, which is always good. I do feel that inside he's a force to be reckoned with. If when I was sparring him or any boxer with a little bit of footwork, you want to make sure you're not on the receiving end of any body shots. And just sort of trying to take the sting out of his punches. I think we all know about the power and the Guinness World Records and things like that. But when he does sit down on his shots and he really starts teeing off, we saw what happened in the third round with Fury. And I feel that he can quite easily push most people back because he is so strong. But there's a difference between power and strength. Power is just that sort of one hit, but he is strong throughout the rounds. He does carry a good amount, a high level amount of strength throughout the rounds.
You mentioned Ngannou closes distance very well. For Anthony Joshua, could that potentially be a issue? I would personally say I'd imagine Fury's probably better on the back foot compared to Anthony Joshua, so that might play into his favour more than Anthony's. Could that be something that would go in Ngannou's favour against Anthony Joshua?
Potentially, but I do feel that's something that they've been made aware of. If they think, okay, AJ needs to work on fighting on the back foot or just getting out of trouble off the ropes, then that's something that they would deal with. But in my humble opinion, I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue because AJ does move very well laterally. it's all fine moving backwards, but if you move backwards too much, you're gonna hit the ropes. So you got to move off to the side. I do feel that's something that is a little bit underestimated as well. So as long as he's doing that, I think he'll have a few get out of jail free cards in his arsenal.
In terms of the future, let's say as majority of people are expecting Anthony Joshua to beat Francis Ngannou, where do you feel they both go? AJ moves on to potentially another world title shot. Ngannou, does he stay in boxing?
I'm not too sure. You know, I think that would obviously be a question for his team and management. But I did see an article that he may be potentially going back to the PFL. Well, not back to starting his journey with the PFL, back to MMA. So you know that could be the case. And then AJ is quite openly said that he's looking to be three-time world champion. So whichever route or avenue that he would need to go down to get to those belts, then I'm sure he's going to be exploring that. But we'll see what happens on May 18th with the rescheduled date. Albeit Usyk or Fury are victorious, then I'm sure the next avenue will be steered towards AJ.
With Ngannou, as a boxing fan yourself, Darren, who would you like to see Ngannou fight next if he stays in boxing? Should he lose to Anthony Joshua?
That's a good question. Wouldn't necessarily say there's any boxer in particular, but I think he would definitely deserve to stay at world level. Someone in not even the top 10, like the top 5 or 6, maybe a Dillian White. He's just been cleared. A Joe Joyce, a Daniel Dubois, someone of that caliber. But I think if he stays in boxing, a UK fighter, I think brings the most eyes and ears around him, not necessarily an American fighter. But yeah, if anyone American, then obviously Deontay Wilder. And if anyone outside of the UK, maybe a Joe Parker.
Fantastic. Well, Darren, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for your time and your insight on both camps.
All right, I appreciate you. Thank you.